headquarters of Trusted Herd, which is a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Chicago. And we are honored and awesome to have somebody that a lot of us know if you're on Facebook, which is where you're watching this right now, Miss Mandee Flanders, the Director of Ops from Oxford Marketing.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, Mandee, where are you videoing in from today?
I live in upstate New York. I live just off Lake Ontario, so I'm streaming in from I like to call it lake house, so it sounds fancy, but it's really just a house that's on the lake, like really close. So when we go for a walk, we're right along the water, which is really nice. So that's where I'm at today. And we got snow this morning. Did you guys get snow?
We also got snow.
Oh, what the heck, man?
I know. I made a terrible snow day joke to a cousin who has kids, and they were like, every day is a snow day right now.
Oh, too good.
So good stuff. Well, let's see here. First off, everybody, if you could do us a favor, if you like what's happening, if you like what's hearing, if you really like Mandee, there's little buttons down there at the bottom. Give them a click, that like button, that heart button. There's a share button. And I think we're going to be doing something special today. And Edwin kind of started this yesterday. And so we were like, should we do something today? Mandee, you want to explain to everybody what we're going to do today if anyone clicks those buttons below?
Yeah, so in the spirit of keeping up the giveaway trend, and because Oxford just likes doing giveaways in general, we've done this in the past, but if you click those like or love buttons while we're streaming, you can keep that up whether you're watching this live or later on through Monday, which, do you know what Monday's date is, depending on when they're watching this? Whatever Monday's date is. I don't have the calendar. Who knows? Who knows what any date is right now? But Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern is the cutoff to click like on the video stream. But if you do that, we are going to be picking 2 winners to win $25. And we could have done that in the form of a gift card, but we said, hey, people are not really working right now, so let's just send them cash. Yeah. So if you have the Venmo or the Cash app, I will personally send you $25 of 2 different people that are watching. So we'll randomly select those people by Monday, and we'll announce it in the comments on the main post and the Trusted Herd group.
Amazing. So there you go. Yeah. $25. That's a good hour at a promo right there. At a good.
That's true. That's
true. Click that like button, click that heart button, click the share button, share it to your own page, share it to a group. This one's going to be a lot of fun today. So, also a little bit different because Andrew and Lori both started Oxford Marketing. And I know we're so familiar with Mandee, and we see her everywhere. I actually had the opportunity to meet Andrew and Lori and Mandee when they were here in Chicago a couple months ago. They're amazing, amazing people. So we have Mandee here today to answer some of the questions on Oxford Marketing, and she's really will be more than capable to handle it because she started right around the same time and was almost there from the beginning. So let's kick this off with a non-event question. Cool. First question. And real quick, anybody, as you have questions maybe that we can get to at the end for the audience, drop them in the comments section because we will get to those at the end of it. So Mandee, if you're not doing events, what are you doing? What are your hobbies? What can people find you up to?
Probably with my horse. I have a horse. I've been a horse owner since I was 13 years old, and I've had my current horse since I was about 16. She's now 20, so if you want to do the math, yeah. Or I'll save you the math. I'm 31 now, so I've had her since I was 16. Yeah. But yeah, she's been in my life for a long time, and I board her at another barn, so she's not at our place. We don't have the land for that, but usually I'm over there hanging out with her and going riding. If I'm not doing that, you might find me on my new Nintendo Switch playing Splatoon. That's another hobby of mine. So those are probably my top 2 right now.
Are you on Twitch? Can anybody find you on Twitch with a username and play you in that video game?
I haven't started streaming my games yet, so I haven't done anything on Twitch. I actually just downloaded Twitch like a few days ago, and I downloaded it because I wanted to watch a Just Dance streamer because I just started playing Just Dance in the past 3 weeks. So I was like, how do I get better at this? So I've been following some Just Dance streamers.
That's great. Maybe Trusted Her Live down the road, we'll do an episode dedicated to you playing your game on Twitch. Real quick, because I've actually never shared the story in the Facebook world, but one of my very, very best friends is from a very small town in Mexico. And when I was I think I was like 21, I went down there to visit him. Very remote. I was like the only white person I saw for 3 days. And they have a lot of horses. And so one day he goes, Brian, hey, why don't we go out to the horse ranch and go riding? Okay, sounds great, Joel. So we head on out there. I grew up in downtown Chicago, or in Chicago, so I've never ridden a horse before. We get out, I get onto the horse, pretty big horse, and I go to hand him my backpack, which you're supposed to never do because you can spook the horse because they can see it. And this horse like bucked up on me. I immediately got up and I was like, Joel, no worries. I'm just going to go sit over there by that little convenience store. You come get me when you're done. You guys can all go. And then they say some stuff in Spanish, and the person who's tending their horses walks away, goes around the corner, and then comes back with this donkey that is like 3 feet high.
Oh my God.
And they go, no worries, you're going to come with us. And so I get on the donkey, and for 2 hours, you could tell where we rode because my feet were like dragging along the whole time.
Oh my God. Well, then that donkey was definitely too small to be carrying you.
Very too small.
Okay, I guess it worked.
So there's my horse story. All right.
That's great.
It is great. It's still funny to this day to me. Oxford marketing, Mandee, if we had just met, right? How would you describe Oxford to me?
So at Oxford, a couple of things that we like to really take to heart are how we treat our staff and how we manage our events. So everyone at the company has been in the event marketing industry for many years in different aspects. So there's account managers, tour managers, brand ambassadors. We've all kind of been in it for a long time. And we know what things we like, we know what things we didn't like. And so we really try hard to implement those things into how we run our agency. So I know there's a lot of people who maybe have been in the industry for a long time, and different agencies pop up too. They're like, oh yeah, I've been a brand ambassador for years, just started my own agency. That does happen. But that's something we really do take serious, is we're like, all right, we know what things really bothered us or what things we really wanted to see when we were working in the field. So how can we implement that into how we operate our agency? So that's something that I would say is really something we're all about.
Yeah, that's great. And so Oxford Marketing started in 2013, right?
Yes.
And you came, and so Andrew and Lori started, and then you came along just a few months later, correct?
I did. Yep. May 2014 was when I first started doing staffing for Oxford. I think I met them prior to that.
Okay.
My husband might have met Andrew in like 2012 or so. So we've known them for a little bit, but I came in from a staffing standpoint in May 2014.
Excellent. Excellent. And so what type of a work were you doing before you got into the world of events personally?
So I was doing social media marketing back in like 2010 to 2012. That's when the big social media push really started becoming a thing for business owners. So I was starting that up in my own like hometown, definitely comprised of small businesses in my area. I'm from upstate New York. And when I say upstate, I mean like by Canada. So it's nowhere New York City. So we're not talking like huge businesses in my area. It was definitely more of a small town. So I always kind of say I started out a big fish in a small town, but I was looking for something different. And that's when I discovered experiential event marketing and realized it was just a really good fit and a good transition for me.
Yeah. And speaking of transitions, you have perfectly transitioned from that question to this next one. So how did you get into event marketing? Like, what was your first experience in the world of event marketing that you remember?
Yeah. So a couple things happened. In 2011, I was going out and working like shows on my own for my own small business as a social media consultant.
Okay.
So I was going to some local shows on a smaller level, and I was working my own booth and setting up my own space, getting my own like business cards and flyers and signage all printed. But it also that business didn't really take off for me right away. Yeah. So I was looking to kind of supplement my income. So when I was going to those shows, I was seeing a lot of people that were sitting behind their table at their booth, and they were puttering on their phones the whole time.
Yeah.
And I even went to some other like young entrepreneur shows. Like I got in with other young small business owners that were like in their early 20s or even younger at the time, at that age. And like all these young people were like just hanging out behind their tables, not greeting people. I'm like, you're not getting people to your booth because you're not acknowledging them.
Yeah.
So I took that and I was like, what if I could get paid to go run someone else's booth because they suck at it? So that was where the whole idea came from. Mind you, I had no idea that that was an industry, that that was like an option. So I started talking to people, having some phone calls, but it didn't really go anywhere right away until the following year. So this was in 2011 where I had this idea. But in 2012, I discovered a Craigslist ad that was hiring people for the New York State Fair.
Yeah.
And I was like, $20 an hour, that's really good. And I already like do this kind of work all the time for myself. So let me see if I can get in. So I sent them my resume, which had no event experience on it, and kind of explained, well, I'm a social media marketer. I teach workshops. I do public speaking. So like I have that background, but I've never done events. They're like, oh, that's okay. You're booked. Because it's really hard to find people in Syracuse, New York. There's not really a market around here for brand ambassadors. So they were like, you're hired. I didn't even really have to explain myself. They were just like, you sound good, you're in.
Yeah.
So I worked my first brand ambassador job officially for an agency in summer of 2012 for the New York State Fair.
Real quick, Mandee, on the New York State Fair, was it a one-day event? Was it a weekend event? Was it the entire state fair?
I want to say, you know what? Actually, it was not the entire state fair, but I did jump between multiple clients because it's like a 2-week event. So I actually had one weekend and a different one another weekend.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there around the same time was like a Bassmaster event that was at the fairgrounds too. So I kind of like hopped in and did like a bunch of them back to back around the same time.
Yeah. Nice. Very exciting. So you're doing some events. You get your first taste of the New York State Fair. I imagine you're starting to do more. When did you cross? I mean, I think you said your husband knew Andrew, but at what point did all of a sudden it become either, hey, Mandee, why don't you come work for Oxford Marketing? Or did you know that Lori and Andrew were about to start Oxford Marketing?
I would say I started out dabbling in staffing. So kind of to backtrack a little bit, my first event was the New York State Fair. My husband's first event was a couple short months later, and that is actually where he met Andrew. And that was his very first promo that he worked. So we both jumped in around the same time, but that's kind of the backstory is my husband met him at his first ever promo.
Wow.
So from that point on, we worked a couple gigs, and as a freelancer, you're always looking for more ways to supplement your income. So around the time people were like, hey, we really need help staffing this event. I lived in the Boston market at the time, and Boston can be a tougher market to find like a lot of staff in. So I was getting a lot of people just saying, hey, do you have friends that can work? We'll pay you to help us staff this event. So I can't even remember specifically like which agencies I really helped, but around May 2014, I'd known Andrew for a little bit, and he said, hey, do you want to help me staff this event at the Gillette Stadium? For Microsoft, we need 40 brand ambassadors.
Whoa.
So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so he was just kind of paying me on a contract basis, which is how a lot of staffers work. A lot of them kind of hop around and help just recruit staff on a freelance level. So that's what it was like at first. And I remember Andrew said to me, all right, well, how many do you think you can get? I was like, oh, I'm going to get all 40, Andrew. And I did. I got all 40. I got all 40 brand ambassadors in my first one like that. So I felt really good.
Just for everybody who maybe doesn't know, that doesn't live in New England or has been up there, Foxborough is not in downtown Boston. Foxborough is like in between Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston, and it's pretty much in the sticks. So 40 people, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, well, we were working in the Boston market pretty full time at that point, so we'd made a lot of friends, and I did know a lot of the team that was scheduled for that event, but now I'm like, how did I do that? I don't know if I could still find 40 people in New England because I don't live there.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, I still look back and wonder how I pulled all that together, but I did.
Yeah,
It worked
yeah.
out.
And how about the story of Oxford marketing itself, if you do know it? Like, did Andrew and Lori just see this opportunity that they wanted to get into events?
So I asked them this the other day when we were talking more about it and
Yeah.
preparing for this call. But one of the things that kind of led Oxford Marketing to coming together is that um, all of us have been in the industry for a long time. So kind of like how Andrew came to me to help staff his events. Prior to that, there were people that were looking for help staffing. And there were other agencies that we were connected to, that Andrew and Lori were connected to, that were getting requests for small, like 1 to 2 BA events.
Okay.
And different agencies do have minimum set, like they
Yeah.
only take events that are so many people, or it's, so much money for the contract. So in that case, there are agencies out there that kick out the little projects.
Yeah.
So those projects were kind of floating around, needing someone to help staff them. And that is where Andrew and Lori came in with those smaller events. And that's kind of how Oxford Marketing got started. There were just a lot of little events that were floating
Yeah.
around with their connections. And, they took them. And that was how we got our start.
That's awesome. And that actually happens very frequently. So if anyone is thinking about starting their own company, or you just do have like a very, very small agency on the side, and you become good friends with someone who has a medium or a larger size agency, they often do have minimums, right? And so somebody might come to them and say, hey, we have this project, but it is only 2 people and it's maybe 1 day. And they might not take it, right? Because they're in the middle of a big one. And that's the point where they call up that friend, right, and say, hey, we have this potential client for you. It's a 1-day program. Would you like to talk to them? I know a lot of friends who have started event companies here in Chicago who operate the same way. And one of them is now working with Mosaic, which is really cool. So, it's a great way to kind of get that foot in the door and start working some events.
Yeah.
Oxford Marketing. Where did the name come from?
Okay. You want the truth?
Of course I want the truth.
That was Andrew's street name. The street that he lived on, Oxford.
Yeah. That happens though. That's good. It's like the inspiration is always around you. And I would imagine the inspiration for the street, you see it every day. Does he still live
I
on
mean, the name kind of developed. No,
Okay.
no, but the name kind of developed over time. So a couple of things with the name, like we have a tagline that says your brand is in good hands. So, that was obviously more original.
Yeah.
And the reason we went with that is because we felt like a lot of times there's obviously a lot of companies out there and your brand isn't always in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a reflection of how much, our team really cares, and that we really make sure to go out of our way to give you the best experience.
Yeah, that's great. And then how about the logo itself? I mean, the logo that we see right now in the bottom right corner of the screen, is that the one that started with Oxford?
It's pretty much the same one that we've had. We did clean it up a little bit because, as graphics have developed over time, we kind of needed to fine tune it a little bit so it looked clean and crisp, especially when we're doing when we're reproducing, printed business cards and things like that. It definitely needed to be a good version. So we've tweaked it slightly over time. But if you look at it, so if you look at the O in Oxford, you can actually see that the black O is kind of like hands, like your brand is in good hands. So it's not super obvious. But if you look at it, you can kind of see that wrapping hands look. So little secret and tidbit for those who may not have known that before.
Yeah, that's great. And then any significance on the dots coming off from the X?
Yeah, so the dots, as the name kind of developed, now, like I said, it came from Andrew's street name, but as things kind of developed, one of the things that Andrew and Lori liked about the actual part of the word Oxford, ox specifically, was that an ox itself, the animal, is strong and powerful. And so the dots are kind of just kind of a reflection on the ox, which is, it's maybe a little off brand, a little bit of the actual word, but supposed to be horns,
Yeah,
like ox
yeah.
horns
No,
that
I
come
see
off.
it. I see
So
it.
it's tied in, again, things you wouldn't necessarily know, but when
Yeah.
you learn the story, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. So for everyone that's tuning in right now, or if you're tuning in later, we're here with Mandee Flanders, the Director of Ops for Oxford Marketing. We are doing something special because today is Friday. If you didn't know, I don't know what day it is anymore. If you hit that like and that heart button, that automatically enters you into a chance to win $25 up until Monday. What do we say? 9 a.m., Mandee?
Yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern.
9 a.m.
But
Eastern.
I probably won't be up at 9. Let's be real. I'm not getting up early right now.
So go ahead and hit that button, because just by hitting it once or twice, you are entered. And then the other way to enter for the other $25 is hit that share button. Share it to your own page, share it to a group somewhere, spread it around. Everyone, there you go. That's $25 times 2. Okay, so we got the name, we got the logo, we got how you got involved. First client, is there a memory of it?
So the first client would be before I tuned in. And so I had to go back and again ask Andrew and Lori about it. It was like, hey, who was the first one you guys were working with? Because I didn't come in until the following year.
Right.
So it was actually directional staff for a conference in Boston. So again, one of those small types of programs, but something that was too small for larger agencies. So I think that's where it came from. But just a little one, but just enough to get us started.
Yeah, no, that it takes one, right? And then that's how you get to 2, and that's how you get to 3. So was there one client along the way where things at Oxford Marketing, you guys went, oh, yeah, this is kind of picking up a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that's around the time that I came in too, is Oxford secured a contract for Microsoft that was visiting a lot of the soccer events nationwide.
Nice.
So those 40 people that I staffed for the Foxborough event at Gillette Stadium, we were also doing activations for that around the country at different soccer events where we had many, many people coming in, many brand ambassadors, and they were demoing the Microsoft tablets. It was just a matter of like wandering around, doing a demo with people. And if they did a quick demo with a tablet with one of our brand ambassadors, they'd get a free giveaway, which I forget what it was. But yeah, that was like our first, like really, that was our first good sized contract, I'd say.
Yeah, awesome. Did you get to meet Tom Brady when you were at Foxborough?
No.
Okay.
I should add a disclaimer. I don't really watch. Well, my husband's a football fan, but I grew up on a farm, so I'm like the horse girl. I try to understand football. I know a few of the terms. I don't really understand it though, if I'm being honest.
All good. Okay, so we got the first client. We got the one that things start to pick up a little bit. When things do pick up, it's really important to have a good team around you, right? Can you maybe talk a little bit about the team that's over at Oxford Marketing and just the importance of it?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, like as you start growing, this can be really overwhelming for one person to do by themselves. So it's important to recognize who has what skill and where to place those, where to place those skill sets and how to utilize them the best you can. So everyone at Oxford, everyone that we have on our team has worked events before, which I really to this day believe is super important. It's not that you can't get someone who's never been in the industry and train them really well and have a great account manager with no actual BI experience. But one of the things that we really, again, like harp on is the fact that we've been there and we've done it. So we really try hard to relate to you on every level that we can.
Yeah.
So all of our account managers have been doing BA work. We still go out and work events. I'm married to a tour manager. I go out sometimes and still work tour gigs every once in a while. I don't go on tour like I used to, but sometimes they'll say, hey, Mandee, you want to come out with Tim and work this gig? Yeah, I'll still do that.
Yeah.
So we're still out in the field and we get it and we understand how things operate. So from that standpoint, I really value having that background in our entire team because we all just kind of get it. We have the same frustrations.
Yeah.
We like have the same things that we celebrate and understand. Yeah. So like that's been really awesome.
That is great. You did a little traveling last year with Tim, right, on his tour. Did you have a favorite stop?
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite stop that you went to or a favorite event with him?
Uh, oh, I'm trying to remember where we went. I did go out and visit him on tour. He was touring with a beverage client and was traveling around. We were in Chicago for a little bit. I know I didn't get to meet up with you when I was there on
Yeah.
that trip, but we were in Chicago. We did Wisconsin.
You guys did Country
Um,
Thunder, right?
yeah. Oh, actually, that's a really good one. We did do Country Thunder. I met Philip Victor. So if you guys are familiar with that partnership with Trusted Herd and then brand ambassadors of Facebook, Philip actually taught me all these line dances because he was teaching line dances there at Country Thunder,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I love line
This
dancing.
is
So that was fantastic.
an amazing fun fact about Philip. He is an incredible line dance instructor and teacher. He is out at the bars and saloons out there in San Diego, and I've seen videos. It's very impressive.
Oh, it was so fun. Like, I really didn't have much to do all day while Tim was like, I wasn't on his team. I just came out to visit him
Yeah,
because he was going to be on tour for several months. So I just flew out for a visit
yeah,
and worked remotely. But yeah, for Country Thunder, I just kind of packed everything up. I went shopping, got some more country clothes,
yeah.
and brought my cowboy boots and just like danced all day for like 2 days. It was awesome.
So Country Thunder, for those who don't know, there's two of them. There's one that happens in Arizona, and the other one happens just north of the border in Illinois and Wisconsin. And it is like this raging party that is unsupervised. I kid you not. There's like, I
Yeah.
swear to God, there's middle schoolers like running around wreaking havoc, and you.
Oh, it was a mess.
Um,
Yeah.
there was one day where we didn't want to sleep in the tent anymore, so we slept in the car. And I woke up at like 3 or 4 a.m. to a fire truck swinging by us in a campground, and I looked out into the distance, and the entire row of porta potties, someone had lit them on fire. So, uh, Country Thunder, there you go. It's a party. Um,
I didn't stay over, so I didn't get to experience that craziness. We went back to the hotel.
Yeah, I think we were one and done. We're like, yeah, I think we're gonna go home. But good music.
Yeah.
Okay. How about on your journey, Mandee? Like, you've gone from social media to around the time you were managing somebody's top 8 friends on MySpace to right now. And so, do you feel like you've had any habits that maybe have made you successful or have gotten you to where you're at today?
Yeah. And I thought about this throughout today
Yeah.
to try to come up with the best response to this. And I
Yeah.
think that one of the things that's really made a difference in my life is staying committed, even if you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
So when I started doing this, I didn't know that I was going to end up in this type of position. I was like, maybe I'll be a tour manager. Maybe I'll go be a fitness trainer. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had all these other things and ideas that I wanted for my life. But it was just a matter of finding good things that fit. So to answer that question, I would say commitment was a huge thing for me, just like sticking it out. And I can say, like, as a married couple, my husband and I traveling on tour, it's kind of frustrating when you see your spouse. I'm talking from my husband's standpoint, having me in the passenger seat, not doing any of the driving because I'm like, someone called out, babe, I got to replace this person.
Yeah.
So I'm like in the passenger seat trying to work part-time as a freelance, staffing coordinator. And I'm trying to do this while also trying to make money on tour. But I was able to do that at that time because it was like super freelance. It was just a project here and there. So I definitely like did a little bit of it. And I didn't know if that was going to be the right fit. I didn't know if I'd quit doing the staffing and go tour full time.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was vice versa.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of like, even though it was hard, just sticking with it to see like what the end outcome would be in that situation. So
That's really good.
Commitment was a big one for me.
Yeah, no, commitment's very important. How about where you're at right now? Is there anything you would have told yourself maybe when you first walked into the New York State to work that first event that would maybe get you where you're at right now faster or accelerate your path? Are you okay with how it progressed?
I think I'm pretty good with the progression of my growth throughout, the past several years in this industry, but mindset's definitely kind of grown as well over those many years, because I remember working my first event and I showed up like super happy to make my $20 an hour, right? And then one of those events, one of those clients that I worked with sent us home like an hour early. And all I remember about that is how the entire team was like in the back getting super frustrated, saying they better pay us for this hour.
Yeah.
And I'm not stating one opinion on that at all. Like sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. Everyone does it different.
Sure.
For us, if you get cut an hour early, as long as you're not getting fired, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
So for us, that's how it works. But every agency is different. But I was just like, I'm just really happy to have work, guys. I'm so happy to be here. And they were so irritated. I think I was way too happy for them. They did not want anything to do with it. They were just like, they better pay us or else. Like, it was a huge thing amongst like at least 3 other BAs. There's like maybe a team of 4 or 5. So I remember the negativity and attitude about it. And so looking back at it, I now understand where they were coming from, because I was the newbie.
Sure.
So I understand they had been doing it longer. They understood a little bit more about that. And that was where that opinion came from. So over the years, I've definitely like understood all the different viewpoints on it and how different people think and operate. So I get that. I've definitely grown in that regard.
Nice. Well, if you're joining us, we're here with Mandee Flanders, Director of Ops. If you're on Facebook, you might know her. She just talking about the story of Oxford marketing and the story of her and how she progressed in event marketing. Let's see, we do have a couple of questions that have come in. So as we do get to the final few here, if you have any audience questions, drop them below and we'll get to them at the end here. So Mandee, how about one piece of advice you could give to event workers, just in general?
I think it would be flexible as much as you can. I know that, everyone does things different. Every agency does things different. So what I say to someone, as far as my advice for our agency working with us, might be very different from how another agency operates. So every business is unique in its own way. But one thing that will get someone to the top is flexibility, willingness to learn and understand. And I, in return, will try to be the best type of, like, Oxford in general, we're all going to try to be the best that we can be as an employer of you as the event staff. So we will return that favor to you, but we also want to see some flexibility too, because one thing I've observed in my many years of being a brand ambassador, market manager, tour manager, and now, staffing agent, the people that do the best and go the farthest and make the most money are the ones that are just like, what do you need? What do you need? Like, let me do it. Let me help you. What's next? Like, they don't stand around and wait on their phones to be told what to do at the end of the event. They're just like, let me help you pack up. I know that you might not always get paid for an extra 10 minutes of your time, but the number of events that I've worked and that my husband have worked, I've seen this consistently. Like, when we've just taken a few extra minutes of our time that we didn't have to offer, we have gotten so many like other jobs as a result, because they're just like, wow, no one else did this. And like, I'm talking like tours that paid us thousands in compared to us going out and working a $20 an hour job. So that's the best way to excel.
I completely agree with you. I remember when we would go on our IndyCar stuff and work this giant 20,000 square foot fan zone and manage it, and we had like 35, 40 brand ambassadors. I will never forget, there was this one kid out in Sonoma at the raceway there, who I think Sonoma was maybe race number 8 or 9 or 10 on the schedule. And he kept coming up to the core group of 4 of us over 3 days if there was downtime, right? Or like there was track activity and there were no fans, and he kept coming up. He's like, Brian, what can I do for you? What can I do? And it got to the point where like by Saturday and Sunday morning, we were kind of joking about it. And then towards the end, he actually helped and stayed and did breakdown with us. And we were all talking about it, like driving away from the racetrack, of just actually how refreshing that was, and how, like, just because it doesn't matter what your title is. Like, if you're working an event site, you're all on the same team, right? It doesn't matter if there's the owner of Oxford marketing out there, or Mandee, or a team lead, or just a brand ambassador. You're all out there to do the same job and to work together. And I'll just never forget that, because you're right. It doesn't happen often, which is probably why we were so like taken back by it. But those are the people who excel because it's really appreciated.
Yeah. And I don't want that to come off that we ever expect anyone to stay after their paid time.
Right.
There's just a difference between someone who's like, whoop, 5 o'clock, I'm out, see ya, to the person who stays to 5:05. And it's just like, they roll out slow, they make sure everything's done, they ask if you need anything. And both people can be successful. It just depends on what your goals are and what kind of opportunities you're looking for. And don't underestimate the value of networking. And sometimes networking means helping to pack up some boxes at the end. So again, I don't want anyone to ever think, oh, Oxford wants us to stay longer than our scheduled shift. No, we're not,
No.
I'm not asking for that. I never expect that of you. But if you want to stay and network after, my client might ask for you as a tour manager later if you're really, if you really leave a good impression. So that stuff can matter.
It can happen. We got some good people watching right now, man. We got Corey Sklar with promo staffing, Amanda Kalinsky with Attack. We got Marnie Pilgrim. We got Tinsley from Grayscale, Matthew Treehub from 8 Days a Week. Philip Victor has just said hello. Philip, I think maybe you joined after we had.
We were talking about you, Philip.
Yeah, your line dancing skills and how amazing they are. So welcome to everybody. This has been so much fun. If you're new to Trusted Herd Live, we were like, what else are you going to do? Just kind of sit in the house. So we're bringing entrepreneurs and people with event startups and people who have been at these companies for a really long time and telling the entrepreneurial story behind them in the company, because you apply to all these agencies, but you don't know anything about them or their story. Like Oxford Marketing, I had no idea it came from a street name, right? Or that O was actually hands, because you share the tagline, Mandee.
Your brand is in good hands, so it goes to the tagline.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So again, we have like 2 more questions here, and then the audience questions. So if you have one, drop it below. Mandee, Oxford Marketing, great company. You guys do phenomenal on Trusted Herd reviews over 3.5 years. It speaks volumes to the team that you have in place, to yourself, Andrew, Lori. People should want to work for Oxford. What do you guys look for in brand ambassadors that you bring onto your programs?
Yeah, I guess we can kind of touch on one of my previous answers a few minutes ago, which is number one, like just willingness to be there and help out, be flexible. So that's a big thing. If we have someone that's coming in on a team and, well, let me lead with this. We do our very best always to communicate the job responsibilities to you before you get in the field. However, clients might do something and I didn't know anything about it. So if it's within a reasonable, if it's a reasonable request, then we just ask, be flexible, be willing. If you have feedback, please bring it to me after. Like, I'm always open to hearing like what happened in the fields. But in general, like we're up for working with anyone. So whether you are a tour manager and you want to fill in some of your schedule and jump in on a couple small events, like that's great. If you're brand new, that's great too. We're always looking for new talent. And then the basics: reliability, communicate well. We would rather you over communicate than under communicate. We don't want to be over here freaking out that you're not at your job.
What is that feeling like for a staffing coordinator when somebody just goes dark? Like, I'm not talking maybe about a no call, no show, because that's a whole other going dark situation. But like leading up to it, even the day before, and you haven't heard from someone and you've reached out, like, can you I don't know, share a little bit of like what that feels like just for brand ambassadors watching who maybe normally do check in and all that, but because I think I'm not a fan of it, right? It's like this gut wrenching feeling. So what do you say?
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of have a 2-part answer. So the first part is how we handle it, and then I'll talk about how it feels. But we've started really tightening up our processes with pre-confirming the staff. And I understand that there's a lot of like really seasoned staff that may kind of feel like this could be unnecessary, but we send out booking emails first and foremost, usually the week of the event. So we require a reply to that email. Hey, I got the details. I'm good to go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Super short and sweet. And then the day before, we're like, hey, it's Mandee from Oxford, just confirming, please reply that you're set to go. So we do try to catch this before it becomes a no call, no show.
Yeah.
And then we'll replace someone if we feel like they're actually ghosting us.
Yeah.
So that's our process that we take. But in a very real life scenario, what usually happens is I've sent out all these group texts. Let's say it's the day before the event. Maybe it's a Friday, like today, Friday. I send it out Friday morning. I've gotten responses from 5 out of 6 brand ambassadors, but I've got 1 out of 6 who hasn't answered. So I wait. I'm like, all right, this is the cutoff I'm going to give this person. Like, I'll wait and and then I'll send a second text sometimes. Maybe they didn't get the first one. So if they're on group text or something, I'll try again, might call them, whatever. But then maybe I'll go out to like dinner with my husband or a movie or something. And then I'm like, they're still not answering. I think I'm going to have to replace them. And often what has happened is A, either someone calls out, or B, they don't answer. And I'm out doing something, like trying to take some time for myself or with my husband. And I'm like, I got to drop everything. I'm sorry. I got to go replace someone who's not answering for a job tomorrow. Yeah. So in all reality, as much as we try to catch it, it usually ends up being a bit frantic at the very last minute. And I'd rather catch it the day before and be frantic the day before than the day of. But that's typically like, that's really what happens, at least in my life. I've had many a date with my husband interrupted because someone called out or is starting to ghost me and it's right before an event. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're maybe about to cross that bridge at a future event, just know there's somebody on the other side that would like to hear from you. So, all right, let's get into actually, we'll ask you this one because you did have your social media business and I'm sure you have some side hustles. Like, do you have any piece of advice for anyone who right now is thinking, maybe I should start a company or a business?
Yeah. Well, just in case anybody missed it, I just want to add the disclaimer. I'm not the owner of Oxford, so it's not my money that's going into it. So if you are looking at starting an agency, there are definitely a lot of factors that you need to take into play. So when we first got started, we started with these little like 1 or 2 person events. That's not hard, especially if a client's willing to pay you quickly for those, to have to front a little bit of money for a small event. So start small if you're going to go in that direction, if you don't have the financing necessary to get going with an agency. But keep in mind, like from an agency standpoint, you can sometimes be chasing down thousands of dollars for like 60 to 90 days or longer.
Yeah.
So you need to really consider that you've got to have the capital to start something like this. And I was told for years I should start my own company, my own staffing agency. Now, I do have other businesses and side hustles, so I know how those work. But from a staffing standpoint, I have never wanted to actually be the one responsible for floating the money, because you need a good amount of money to pay your staff and be able to keep your business running while you're waiting on that income from your clients. So especially the bigger the client, the longer sometimes their turnaround time is, because you're dealing with a lot of like really corporate brands, and they have to go through a lot in their processes to get their payments out. So don't take it lightly. If you're going to start an agency, like think about where you want to go with it and how much money you might need to pay people. Like, again, I don't run the financials, but you need to have money in your account that's going to keep everybody afloat for months, just in case money doesn't come through.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And you know, even just not knowing a certain amount, like you guys can do the math, right? I mean, it's maybe you're making 22 an hour. You're on a team of 20 people. You're working 10 days a week or 10 hours a day for 3 days. Like add that dollars up, right? And then maybe that program is also happening in 5 other cities throughout the US the same weekend. And so that's a big amount. Especially, I think it's really common, right? When you get to like around the holiday times or holiday mall programs, that sort of stuff. So that's really good insight. And it actually hasn't been brought up before. On THL. It's like TRL. Okay, so we are through the set questions. So now we're at the audience questions. If you have any, drop them in there. I'm just going to start running through them, and we're going to pepper Mandee with all of these. This one was actually really fun, and it was asked towards the beginning. Your Foxborough activation, the Foxborough 40, as we call them. Do you still work with any of them? Do you remember or know any of them still?
I probably still have that Google Doc list in my Gmail account, actually. Um, as far as working with them, honestly, Oxford doesn't do a lot of activations in the Boston market. I felt like there was more 5 years ago than there is now. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't live there, but um, as far as Boston opportunities with Oxford, we don't really have as many. So from a staffing standpoint, I haven't staffed a lot of those people in a long time.
Yeah.
However, I am still Facebook friends with quite a few of them. And some of them aren't even in the industry anymore.
Yeah.
I've definitely had some friends who maybe did tour management for a while, maybe moved out of state, or maybe that was just their like, middle of the ground. I'm going to stop here, do promos for a little bit, and then move on to my real job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because some people, that's how it works for them too.
Yeah.
Some people are part-time, they just do it as a filler for income. So everybody's situation has changed. I'd say out of that list, maybe I know like 5 people from that list.
It's a while ago. What?
Yeah, 2014. A lot's happened since then, so I don't know a ton of them. And some of them were completely new to me that I didn't know at all. So,
all right. Well, there you go. There's your answer.
good question.
Yeah, right. Okay. How about this one? And you already did talk a little bit about being a brand ambassador, but maybe there's some other insight you want to add to it. Any suggestions for brand ambassadors wanting to move up into higher positions? So
Yeah.
I would assume like a team lead or a market manager, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a matter of just like taking any opportunity. So sometimes I don't always know that someone, maybe I won't use them as a team lead out of the gate, but I'll try them as a brand ambassador. So that might mean come work for us doing 4 gigs as a BA, and then I see how responsible you are, and then I'm ready to put you in as a team lead. So you can always apply for that position. But at the end of the day, there's typically like 1 team lead or manager role, and then there's like maybe, let's just throw a number out, 10 BA spots. Yeah. So if you are only applying for team lead, and we've already got someone that we select right out of the gate for that position, then that might take you out of the running for brand ambassador if you didn't apply for both positions. And I'm speaking from like an applying on a portal standpoint, like looking at a list of applications. It's different than if you sent an email application in sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you're only applying for one position and not the other, it kind of depends on our experience with you. So for us personally, we are usually more inclined to place someone in a team lead position that's already proven their reliability and communication skills in a BA role. So that's how we tend to move them up the chain and up the ladder.
Yeah.
Starting completely fresh, that can work too. It just depends on our needs in the market and the competition. Yeah. There's so many factors, but there's that. And then, like I had already mentioned previously, which is like, just jump in, do anything, because when we see how hungry you are to do well and be successful, we'll move you up faster.
As you just finished that answer, I'm trying to understand / ask this next one correctly. So I'm like also trying to answer it in my head at the same time. Do you know of any agencies, because it might not be Oxford, but do you know of any agencies that do like a, hey, anyone who comes works for us the first time out, right? Or the first 2 or 3 times, you're set to make this rate. But if you grow with us, you might end up making $2 more an hour, $3 more an hour. Have you ever heard any of agencies that maybe have that policy that it's not just, hey, everyone's making this flat rate, that it is a little bit graduated based on their experience with an individual company?
I think it's possible. It's not a pay scale system that we've adapted, though. Yeah. We do have a private group of VIP brand ambassadors that we have a lot of experience with that only get this invite after they're a seasoned Oxford brand ambassador. So sometimes we go to that group and we say, hey, if you're VIP, maybe we can increase your rate a little bit. But it's not something that we implement for every single event because, frankly, every client's budget is different. So it really comes down to that event, that client, and the ability to be able to do that with a rate. Yeah. So sometimes we implement that. Other times, depending on how often someone's worked with us, sometimes I automatically give them a higher rate than advertised. And I might be shooting myself in the foot saying that on camera, but at the same time, there are some people that I've worked with for years, and they'll apply for a position. I'll be like, you're worth this much. It's automatic. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have to ask me for it because I already give them a couple dollars more.
Yeah.
So is that possible? Yes. But, you know, you can ask. People can ask about the rate. I might be leading into a new question here, but people can ask about the rate. They're welcome to, but usually what happens is usually it's the advertised rate unless we've really worked with you and we know that your value is placed a little bit higher.
It's a very good answer. I was about to ask you when you initially had said it. I was like, oh, do you want to just write the link for everybody right now and tell them the group to join for the VIP group?
Yeah, well, VIP, you have to have experience. You get a special invite. I do think I might have invited you to that group, but we do that because we have we have our Facebook page, our Instagram, all of that's public.
Yeah.
But we also want to show special recognition for people that we know are great. So
Absolutely.
that VIP group actually gets the job post usually before anybody else does. So
that's awesome.
You know, we do show some preference for people that have proven their worth.
And it builds loyalty, right? And I mean, it's about the mutual respect thing. Cool. All right, let's see here. Yeah, for among peers. Okay, deep question. In light of how COVID-19, this is already a good question to be asked. In light of COVID-19 affected experiential marketing and staff who all scrambled with initially last-minute cancellations, have you at Oxford or among your industry peers thought about the industry staffing agencies possibly implementing a cancellation compensation for staff when events are canceled? So I would assume this is like moving forward. Do you think maybe that cancellation clause will become a little bit more prevalent or something that's talked about and not just glanced over when it does come to moving forward?
I think it's something that all of us are thinking about right now. I mean, I'll say I personally, my husband and I actually had a lot of work canceled too for March and April because we had a couple of side jobs we were going to do that got completely wiped out entirely. And it depends on, you know, how far those are booked out. We do have a very good cancellation policy already, depending on when the client cancels. So some clients may tweak that a little bit depending on who we're working with. But in general, we keep our cancellation policy pretty buttoned down. And most Oxford staff will tell you, especially those who might have been canceled like a day prior, or even maybe they showed up to their event and it got canceled. So if they show up to their event and it's canceled for weather or some weird reason that the client's like, you can all go home now, they get paid for that event. Yeah. So that, you know, we've always been very considerate from that regard. Now COVID has obviously affected us all. All of us are like, okay, do we need to switch gears now and do something else? Because the events are just kind of dissipating before our eyes here. That's something we'll look at as a team and see. Some clients have requested more flexibility. Now, if they canceled far out, like they were already outside of our cancellation window anyways, usually for us, 2 weeks or after, did I say that right? They have like 2 weeks prior to the event, usually to cancel with no penalty. So we had some people are like, well, this event's a month out. Are you going to pay? Well, we would love to, but the client already had in a contract that wasn't going to happen, you know, especially with a month out. So we've done everything that we could, but sometimes the money's not there if the client's not paying, you know, so we have to be very realistic about these things. Is if we collect no monies from the client, we can't pay anything out. But we are also a very fair company. And I have seen some rumors floating around that some agencies might be collecting cancellation funds, but not giving them to their BAs. I don't know anyone that has done that. I think that's shady. Unless they're covering just a little bit of account management time, you have to kind of factor in that's a little bit separate. So if the account managers have done all the work, they may get paid for some time. But if the BA rate was not paid in any way, there's no way for us to pay that money. So in light of transparency, you know, we do what we can, but if money doesn't exist, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Very detailed. for a very detailed question. Thank you, Mr. Edwin Valero. Okay. This is the last audience question, and then we'll get you out of here because I know we all got big, big plans. Friday night, everyone's probably going out in the town, restaurants, bars, etc.
Yep.
This one comes from Angela Diaz that sounds like she knows what she's talking about here. Mandee Flanders isn't afraid to get into a mascot costume if need be. Does that ring a bell?
Yes. So I've worked with Angela, and so there was a tour that Oxford staff that Angela was part of last year, and we were running short on some mascots. And this is a great topic for anyone that's thinking about getting into mascot work. It is not glamorous. There's been a lot of people, especially in staffing a full-time tour last year of mascots. It is not for everyone. So some people will be like, oh, I'll be fine. And then they get in and they're like, oh my God, get me out. Okay, that is completely okay. Just know what you're signing up for. So we needed more mascots. I was like, well, I'm getting in. I was on site, so I said, I'm going to get in. Unfortunately, I did not fit in that suit. So it was a good attempt. I did not fit, though. But a few months later, I did go work an M&M mascot job for another agency friend of mine. So in light of helping other agencies, like I said, I live in a remote market. So sometimes when a friend is like, I have no people in Syracuse, I'm like, what do you need?
Yeah.
I'll go. So I got in an M&M suit for another friend last summer, which was actually super fun. My husband saw these videos of me dancing as an M&M. He's like, wait, I didn't know you even like doing that kind of thing. It was awesome, though.
What? We got to ask the follow-up question. What color M&M were you?
I was the red M&M, which I feel like is appropriate. I have red hair, so I'm like, red is probably good color for me.
Were there other M&Ms out there?
Nope, I was the only one.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, if you are just joining, we're about to end this. However, you can hit the rewind button and watch anytime you want. So, Mandee, thank you for coming on, first off. Do we want to go there? Sure, let's do it. Why not? Because what else are we going to do?
I don't have any plans other than binge watching Netflix tonight.
I'm actually going to follow this up with the opposite side of this question. Which markets do you feel are oversaturated in doing this for so long? Is there one that you can throw a job out and you're like, boom, I know we're going to get just all these applicants?
Yeah, I would say I'll word it like this. The markets that are the easiest to staff, and I mean like within 5 minutes sometimes, New York City, Atlanta, sometimes Chicago, but I would say New York City and Atlanta. Like I can blast out a job through our database and see that people that I've worked with have applied within a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. And once you've worked for us and I know you, we're just going to book you in and like, we'll text you like, hey, you got any questions? You still want to work? We'll follow up with that, but I might be hitting that button and locking in positions really fast. So New York and Atlanta probably are the fastest ones for us to staff.
All right. Now let's flip that script. And I'm not talking about like middle of nowhere, Nebraska or Kansas. And no offense if you're watching now or in the future from that location. But are there like secondary cities or tertiary cities that are actually really challenging to staff?
There's definitely some markets that are harder. Nebraska is one of them.
Right.
But we have one client that staffs only on military bases. Okay. So we've done really well at finding people for those locations. And they're only like 1 or 2 person events anyways, but like getting to the point where we've actually had a couple people at each of the bases that we staff for this client has definitely taken time and a lot of effort. And of course with military, if you're hiring someone that is military, they might be moving within a year or 2 years. Yeah. So we're always like turning over new staff. So I don't personally manage that account, so I couldn't tell you specifically like what cities those are in, but just think military bases. I live near a military base. I live near Fort Drum in New York. So even from that standpoint, like I get it, they are in more remote markets, so they definitely take more effort.
I mean, and you did mention, and it's not the first time I've heard someone in an agency mention this, but Boston, which people would think is a very big city, lots of people, can actually be challenging for event marketing, right?
It is. And I don't really know why Boston specifically is that way. I don't know if it's because, well, let me take a guess. So I don't think there's enough work in Boston to make promotions a full-time career. So if I were to make an assumption as to why that's harder, it's because there's a bit more turnover in the brand ambassador market out there, because not everyone sticks with it. They have to travel. When my husband and I lived there at the time, now we were like 30 minutes out of Boston, but we were in a good location. So we were like 30 minutes from Boston. We were 30 minutes from Providence. And then we were going to like Hartford, Connecticut for some jobs too. So we were able to hop between like 3 different cities and do work. And then we started touring within like 2 years anyways. But Boston really just got like, they got really good holiday programs. Samsung and Nintendo used to do stuff every year. I don't know if they still do, but they would do stuff every holiday. But like in the summer, there's definitely events, but I don't know if there's enough to make it a full-time job. So you might need other side hustles. So that's kind of my theory.
That's it. I've actually never heard that before, and it makes sense, right? Because you do have places like Vegas or New York or Atlanta that just definitely have work. We're crowd pleasers here. We're here for the audience, so we're gonna just you keep firing away these questions. Sorry, Tim. Okay. You guys have planned.
He's on Xbox. I think we're good. I think he might be watching. I'll find out later. I haven't been checking my text.
This is an interesting question. What's your opinion on aging out as a brand ambassador? Is there such a thing?
I think there can be, depending on which division of like the brand ambassador industry you're in.
Yeah.
I would say, like the clients that we work with, sometimes they need a younger brand ambassador, depending on the type of product they're representing. But as far as us personally, when we're choosing brand ambassadors, we would much rather have someone that's seasoned and experienced and is going to go out there with a super awesome attitude and be great than have someone that's younger that's not going to do that. So from that perspective, like we're definitely still hiring brand ambassadors as they get older. It's not a concern for ours. It's just when there's maybe a specific request or look that a client's looking to cast at their program that might be taken into consideration. But you have to take in mind that this is advertising, so they're going to do the same with like their commercials and things like that too. So all of us kind of know realistically like that's going to happen to an extent. But I do think there's also some agencies that are more flexible with that depending on their clients than some others might be.
Yeah, good answer. Let's see here. So Mars Greason, thanks for asking. Julie Lane, this is a question. It's nice to say. Great agency! Exclamation point. Teamwork makes the dream work at the event and agency level. Thanks for everything you do for us and the industry. It's very nice of her.
Yeah, Julie's a great BA.
Very, very nice. Caitlin Kwan, Mandee was awesome to work with. So happy to put a face to a name. That is great. We have a Tiffany Klein that said back when you were talking about, I think one of the events, she was like, that was actually my first event with Oxford, MLS in DC 2014.
Yeah, I love working with Tiffany too. I can't see it like on the streaming service. It doesn't show me the names. It just says Facebook users. So I see all the great comments, but I don't know. I won't know until I go to Facebook to see actually who said them. Yeah, I recognize all these names. It's great.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I have my phone actually that shows all the names. But like Mandee said, we have this platform, platform we use where it just shows the Facebook user and then the comments. So. Karen Aguirre, I look forward to the future of selling Chewies and Oxford staffing it with a red heart. This is great. All good stuff. So, Mandee, anything you would like to leave our audience with now or as they might watch in the future?
Yeah, so I would say we're very accessible on social media. So, come to our Facebook page, our group, our Instagram. Well, the group is by special invite only. Maybe we should have a second group that's for everyone. But in the meantime, we have a page. But that said, I'm always on social media. Coming from a background of being a social media manager, I live on Facebook and Instagram. So if you want to DM us on Instagram or something, I'll probably see it on there. Uh, but yeah, just get involved, start talking to us. A good way to get in with our company is just to start talking to us on social media, especially me, since I do most of the social media for Oxford. So just like get involved in the conversation and say hi.
Yeah.
That's a good way for us to get to know you.
Yeah.
I've hired like many a brand ambassador just by talking to them on social media, liking what they're saying, what they're doing. We do watch what people say in the Facebook groups and on social media. So someone with a very positive attitude and ready to work, like we notice that and we want to work with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'll leave you with.
Yeah, no, that's great. So everyone, this week has been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of great guests on Trusted Heard Live. This is episode number 12. Next week, action-packed week. Monday, we have one of the largest staffing agencies in Toronto and Canada, Karma Casting. We have their president, Kim Thompson. Tuesday, we have Fritz Heffinger, who's a full-service experiential agency here in Chicago, as well as fabrication. They do a lot of cool work. I'll see if I can get some pictures and we can share them up on the screen too, because it is a visual business for them. Wednesday, Lauren Raimondi with All Aces. Thursday, Shelly Justice with CMT Agency. And my head is only working 4 days at a time right now ahead. So this weekend, I'll post all the events in the Trusted Heard group and make sure you click I'm attending or I'm interested. So yeah, like we said, there is also, if you've made it to the end of this video or you're still watching right now and you haven't done this yet, hit that like button, hit that heart button, because one of you that hits one of those, it's worth $25. For anyone else or for the same person, you can hit that share button, hit that, share it to your favorite group, share it to your personal Facebook page, because that's also worth $25. And Mandee will go through everyone who shared and liked and hearted it and pick 2 winners that will win $25 by the 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep. And if you missed it at the beginning, that will be either through Venmo or the Cash app on your phone. So if you don't have either of those, you'll want to get set up if you're a winner. But those are the easiest way for me to send you $25 in cash. So we said, let's give the gift card. People want money right now. We'll just send you some cash.
Courtesy of Oxford Marketing, Andrew, Lori, and Mandee. Again, everybody, thank you so much. These are so much fun to do and hear the stories behind the companies and the people behind them. So again, Mandee, thank you for joining us today. And hey, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday, Sunday, and we'll see you again on Monday. All right. See you later.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.